Kiara!
Kiara, you're all right.
Father, how could you break your promise?
It's a good thing I did.
Ever notice how The Lion King 2 just assumes Kiara is Simba's firstborn? Doesn't it seem weird that Simba and Nala waited so long to have kids? Well, what if I told you there's a reason for that, and it involves a secret character Disney wants you to forget? In this video, we're going to solve the mystery of Kopa Simba's lost son. We'll show you proof that he existed, explain why he matters, and try to figure out why Disney erased him from the Lion King story. Get ready to uncover a hidden piece of Lion King history that will change how you see the whole franchise. Okay, so we're talking about Kopa, right? And you might be thinking, who's Kopa? Well, let me tell you, Kopa is this cub that shows up in some old Lion King books, and he's supposed to be Simba and Nala's first kid. Can you believe it? But here's the weird thing, we never see him in any of the movies or TV shows. It's like he just disappeared. So let's look at these books and see what they tell us about Kopa, because this is where things get really interesting. We see Kopa playing with Simba and learning how to be a good prince, and he looks just like his dad with that golden fur, and he's always getting into trouble, but Simba's there to teach him how to be brave and strong, just like a future king should be. And get this, there's even a story where Kopa becomes friends with a crocodile named Koboko. I mean, can you imagine a lion and a crocodile being buddies? That's pretty wild, right? But it shows how Kopa was different and special. He could make friends with anyone, even animals that lions usually don't get along with. But then something really strange happens. We keep reading more Lion King stuff, you know, like books and comics that came out later, and Kopa just isn't there anymore. It's like he never existed in the first place, and that's when we start to wonder what's going on here. Did Disney just forget about Kopa, or did they decide to get rid of him on purpose? We need to figure out what happened, because this is a big mystery, so we need to look at when these Kopa stories came out, and it turns out it was right after the first Lion King movie hit theaters. So maybe Disney was trying to make more stories about Simba's family, and they came up with Kopa as his son. But then something changed, because when The Lion King 2 Simba's Pride came out, Kiara was suddenly Simba's only kid, and there was no mention of Kopa at all. It's like he got erased from the whole Lion King story, and that's really weird, right? I mean, how does a whole character just disappear like that? We need to talk to some Disney experts and see if they know anything about Kopa. Maybe there's a secret reason why he disappeared from all the official Lion King stuff, because it just doesn't make sense that they would create this whole character and then pretend he never existed. And you know what's really crazy is that Kopa was supposed to be the future king. He was Simba's heir and everything. So getting rid of him is a big deal. It changes the whole story of what happens after the first Lion King movie. So now we've got this big mystery on our hands. Kopa was created as Simba's heir in these early Lion King books, but then he just vanished from all the later stories, and we don't know why. Did something happen to him in the story? Did Disney change their plans for the Lion King franchise? There are so many questions, and we need to find some answers. Alright, let's dive into The Lion King 2, because this is where things get really weird and we start to see some clues about what might have happened to Kopa. We're watching the movie and there's no sign of him anywhere, but wait a minute, something doesn't add up here. Simba is acting super overprotective with Kiara, like he's terrified something awful is going to happen to her, but why is he so scared? Did something bad happen to Kopa that made Simba worry so much about his daughter? And then we look at Kiara, and she's supposed to be Simba's firstborn, but she seems pretty young, right? If Kopa was real, wouldn't he be older than her? This doesn't make any sense at all. And when we look at Simba and Nala, they look way older than they should be if Kiara was their first kid. What were they doing all that time between the first movie and this one? Did they wait a really long time to have kids? Or is there something else going on here? We need to watch the movie really closely and see if we can spot any clues about Kopa. Maybe there's a secret part that shows what happened to him, or maybe there's a hidden message somewhere that explains where he went. Because this whole thing is super mysterious. There's a part where Simba talks about the great kings of the past, watching over them, but he doesn't say anything about Kopa. Isn't that kind of weird? Like, wouldn't he mention his son if he had one before Kiara? And then we've got Zira, who's all angry at Simba and wants revenge, but she doesn't say anything about Kopa either. You'd think she'd bring him up if he was real, right? Especially if something bad happened to him because of her or Scar, but she doesn't say a word about him. It's like he never existed in the first place. place. But here's something really strange. We see all these other lions in Simba's pride, and we don't know where they came from. Could one of them be Kopa in disguise? Maybe he's hiding or pretending to be someone else because something bad happened and he doesn't want anyone to know who he really is. That would be pretty crazy, right? But it could explain why we don't see him as Simba's son anymore. So now we've got all these questions about the Lion King 2, and there are no direct references to Kopa, but there are some really weird things that could be hinting at his existence. Maybe Disney is trying to tell us something without actually saying it out loud. Like, they want us to figure out the mystery for ourselves, but why would they do that? Why would they get rid of Kopa in the first place? We need to look at how Disney makes their stories and try to figure out what happened, because there's gotta be a reason why they would create this whole character and then just pretend he never existed. Maybe there was some kind of problem with the story, or maybe they had a different plan for the Lion King that changed along the way. But whatever happened, it's clear that Kopa's disappearance is a big deal, and it changes everything we thought we knew about Simba's family. Okay, so now we're gonna look at how Disney makes their movies and changes things around, because this might be the key to figuring out what happened to Kopa. It's really weird, right? We've seen all these clues that something's not right, but maybe the answer is in how Disney tells their stories. Did you know that sometimes they create whole characters and then just get rid of them like they never existed in the first place? It's true, and it happens more often than you might think. So let's think about this for a minute. What if Disney had this big plan for Kopa when they first made The Lion King? They created all these books and stories about him, and he was supposed to be Simba's son and the future king, but then something changed. Maybe they thought having two cubs would be too confusing for kids watching the movie, or maybe they wanted to make the story simpler so more people could enjoy it, because sometimes that's what happens. They make things easier to understand. But here's the really crazy part. What if Kopa is still out there somewhere and Disney's been dropping little hints about it this whole time? Maybe he's been living with another pride, or maybe he's been on some secret mission that Simba sent him on to protect the Pride Lands from a danger we don't even know about yet. Wouldn't that be wild? It would change everything we thought we knew about the Lion King. And you know what? There's this thing called canon, which means the official story Disney wants us to believe. What if they decided Kopa wasn't part of the canon anymore? That could explain why we don't see him in the movies or TV shows, but it doesn't explain why they made him in the first place. There's gotta be more to this story. So we need to find out who makes these decisions. At Disney, is there a secret group that decides which characters stay and which ones go? Because someone had to say, hey, let's get rid of Kopa and put Kiara in the movie instead. But why would they do that unless there was a really good reason? Maybe there was a problem with Kopa's story that made it hard to put him in the movies. Like, what if he was supposed to be friends with the hyenas? That wouldn't work with the rest of the story, right? Because the hyenas were the bad guys in the first movie, so they'd have to change a lot of things to make that work. Or what if they thought having a boy cub and a girl cub would make the story too complicated? Maybe they wanted to focus on Kiara's story, and they thought having Kopa around would take away from that. Because sometimes when you're telling a story, you have to make tough choices about what to keep and what to get rid of. We should look at other Disney movies and see if they've done this before. Have they ever gotten rid of a character in another story? Because if they have, it might help us understand why they did it with Kopa. Maybe it's something they do a lot, and we just never noticed it before. And you know what? We should talk to some people who work at Disney and see if they know anything about why characters disappear from stories. Maybe there's someone who worked on The Lion King who can tell us what really happened to Kopa, because right now we've got all these questions and no answers. But here's the thing that's really driving me crazy. What if Kopa isn't just hiding or forgotten, but he's actually been right in front of us the whole time, disguised as one of the background lions in Simba's pride, and we just never noticed him because we weren't looking closely enough? Wouldn't that be the craziest twist ever? It would explain why he's not mentioned, but he's still there in a way. So now we've got all these ideas about what might have happened to Kopa, but we still don't know for sure. And it's making me wonder if we'll ever find out the truth, or if Disney's just going to keep this mystery going forever, because sometimes not knowing is what makes a story really exciting, right? It keeps us guessing and coming up with our own theories. So we've been talking about all these theories about what happened to Kopa, and it's got me thinking, what if there's something even bigger going on here? What if Disney's been hiding a huge secret from us this whole time and we're just now starting to figure it out? Let's look at some really wild ideas that might blow your mind. Did you know that Disney has these secret archives where they keep all their old storyboards and plans for movies they never made? What if there's a whole set of drawings about Kopa's story that never made it into the movies because someone thought it was too complicated for kids to understand? But what if those plans are still locked away somewhere and they have all the answers we've been looking for about why Kopa disappeared from the Pride Lands? And here's something really crazy to think about in 1994 when The Lion King first came out. Everyone thought Simba only had one cub, but now we know about Kopa from the books and Kion from the Lion Guard. But what if there's another secret cub we don't know about yet? What if there's a lost episode or a deleted scene that shows all three cubs together and explains why we only see Kiara in the movies? Remember how Disney made that movie, The Lion King 1.5, that tells the story from Timon and Pumbaa's point of view? What if there's another movie like that, but it's all about Kopa's secret adventures? Maybe he's been out there having his own exciting story this whole time and we just never knew about it. But wait, what if Kopa's not really gone at all? What if he's been hiding in plain sight this whole time? Most people think he was either eaten by the hyenas or just forgotten by the writers. But what if they're both wrong? What if Kopa has actually been Rafiki's secret apprentice, learning how to be a shaman to protect the Pride Lands from a danger so big that even Simba doesn't know about it? And get this, what if all those background lions we see in the movies are actually part of Kopa's secret army and they're just waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves and save everyone? Wouldn't that be the craziest twist ever? It would explain why there are so many lions in Simba's pride that we don't know anything about. But here's the thing that's really making my head spin. What if all of these theories are connected somehow and the truth is even bigger than we imagined? Because Disney loves to surprise us with big twists in their stories. Remember how shocked we were when we found out Darth Vader was Luke's father in Star Wars, which is now owned by Disney too. So what if they're planning something just as big for the Lion King universe? Maybe Kopa didn't just disappear. Maybe he's been on this epic journey learning secrets about the Circle of Life, and now he's coming back to save the Pride Lands from a threat that's been building up since Scar's time. What if all the Lion King movies and shows have been dropping little clues about this big story, and we're only just now putting it all together? And you know what's really wild to think about? What if Kopa and Kion are actually the same lion but from different timelines? Like maybe something happened that changed the past, and that's why we see different stories about Simba's cubs and different Lion King stuff. It would explain why Kopa seems to exist in some stories but not in others. But here's a really crazy idea. What if Kopa is actually Mufasa reincarnated and that's why he disappeared, because he had to go on this spiritual journey to become the new guardian of the Pride Lands? It would explain why Mufasa's ghost is always around in the movies and why he seems to know so much about what's going on. And you know what? All of this makes me wonder about the future of the Lion King. What if Disney is planning this huge movie or TV show that's going to bring all these different stories together and finally reveal what really happened to Kopa? It would be like the Avengers of the Lion King world, with all these different characters coming together to face some big threat. Wow, we've been on quite a journey trying to solve the mystery of Kopa, haven't we? But even after all our detective work, we still don't know for sure what happened to Simba's lost son. It's like he just vanished into thin air and Disney's not giving us any answers. But you know what? That's what makes this whole thing so exciting, because we get to come up with our own ideas about where Kopa went and why he disappeared. Maybe someday Disney will surprise us all and bring Kopa back in a new Lion King movie or TV show. Wouldn't that be amazing? We'd finally get to see what he looks like all grown up and find out where he's been hiding all this time. But until then, we'll just have to keep guessing and sharing our theories with other Lion King fans. So what do you think really happened to Kopa? Did he run away from the Pride Lands? Is he living with another pride somewhere far away? Or did something more sinister happen to him? Let us know in the comments, because we want to hear your ideas about Simba's lost son. And hey, if you like this video about Kopa, make sure to check out our next one where we'll be talking about how Scar really got his scar. It's going to be another wild ride through the Lion King universe, so don't miss it.